Hi, everybody. This is Philip VanDusen. Welcome again to the Brand Muse interview series on my YouTube channel. I am here today with Col Gray, who is an exceptional YouTuber. He's put out over, I think, 199 videos, last checking on his channel. And he is the leader and founder and head geek, he likes to call himself, of Pixels Inc., which is a branding and design agency, and he puts out an incredible amount of really super quality content on branding and design and strategy. So if you don't follow him or subscribe to his channel, you should definitely do it because there's some amazing content there. And so with that, I welcome Col.
Too kind, sir. Too kind. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Really, when you started building your personal brand, what were the kind of stages that you went through? What was the first thing you did, second, third? How did you build on it over time? I mean, for myself, I started with a much more robust website. I started blogging and writing articles on LinkedIn. Then I started a newsletter, ran that for, a good 3/4 of a year. And then I started my YouTube channel. So I kind of built things on top of it. And now I'm taking my YouTube content and transcribing it and repurposing it and going to write a book from that. So it's like this building of repurposing and growth. What was your process like in terms of how you got started, and what were the channels and that you decided to take on?
I think even though I've kind of had my business Pixels Inc. since 2005, it's really always just been me. Anyway, I've had a couple of designers work with me, and they've kind of moved on to other places, but it's always been I've been the main point of contact. So I think even when people referred people to me, it wasn't go to Pixels Inc. It was go see Col.
Yeah.
So I think I've always had this. It's always been me, but I'd never thought about it as a personal brand as such. And I think the first time that I thought about actually trying to consciously build a brand around myself so that it would be recognizable is about this long ago. What happened was I'd always had a bit like yourself. I'd always had like a little goatee and stuff, but I'd always fancied growing a big beard. I don't know why. I just always had. I've always worn caps, so people always knew that I wore a baseball cap. But I thought I'm gonna grow a big beard. I think it's gonna grow a beard, and so I started growing it. And after about 6 months, it was like kind of a bit mad. And people started to comment on it. People started to refer people to me as Col with the cap and the beard. And I thought, okay, this could be a good differentiator for me from anyone else.
Right.
And so I started to play on it a lot and started to use it in my own kind of materials and stuff, and make sure that I paid to get some headshots done. I'd never done that before. I'd never invested in headshots, so I got those done. I don't like getting my photo taken, so that was quite awkward, which is weird that I'm on video as well. I'm getting used to these sorts of things, but it was more of a word of mouth thing. I actively encouraged my clients to refer me as, go see Col, he's the guy with the cap and the beard, so that when I went to networking events locally and walked into the room, people would go, that's that guy Col from, and they'd never met me, but that must be Col from Pixels Inc.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Brand recognition right there.
And they'd come to me already knowing me, and they'd say, oh, Col, I've got this thing, or could you maybe help me or help my client? And I was like, this personal branding stuff kind of works. It's just, I'd always thought personal branding was celebrity type stuff. It wasn't for people like me. It wasn't, it was bigger than that. As I say, it was celebrity stuff. But I could see that actually, no, personal branding is just like your own business branding. It's word of mouth. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. That whole Jeff Bezos thing. And I wanted people to say nice things about me when I wasn't in the room. I think I'm a nice guy. I get on well with people, and people always say that they've watched me speaking to others, and I can talk for Scotland, I really can, but I'm a great listener as well. And I think that helped build my personal brand as well. Sort of, he's a good listener. He, I won't interrupt. I'll just let them get their story out, and then I'll sort of give a little bit of feedback, and then if another meeting is required, and do that. So getting back to kind of the content marketing side of my personal brand, I had this whole thing, and I'd written my first blog, I think, after my first CMA Live event in 2015. And my first blog was a review of that event. And my heart was thumping hitting that publish button, because I'd never written anything before, and people were going to judge me if my writing's terrible. But people read it and said, and the people that know me said, "That's amazing. That sounds like you. When I read that, it sounds like you." Because I kind of just put a few little jokes in there. I think I put a few Star Trek jokes in or something like that. And so that gave me a little bit of confidence. So I started writing a blog maybe once a week, or 2 a month or something like that. And then in the CMA, Chris has, we're on our 5th one now. He has the 90-day challenge, where basically you have to create content consistently, because with content marketing, it's all about consistency. For 90 days, you say what you're going to do, and you stick to it. And if you fail, if you don't deliver on a week, you're out the challenge. So there's that kind of accountability thing, which I require quite a lot of. I need accountability to make sure I do it, and nobody wants to look bad. So for the first one, I thought, I'm going to do video. And I'd had people saying you should do video, and I was like, oh no, I don't like getting my photo taken. I'm not doing video. There's no way. I don't like hearing my voice on a recording. Never mind have to watch myself. So I thought, you know what? You need to push yourself out of your comfort zone and do this. And so I did my first video basically 2 years ago. It was June 6th or something, I think, 2016. I did my first YouTube video, and it was, what is a logo? That's basically the first one. And I had hairspray in my beard so it wouldn't move. I'm that much of a perfectionist. I just didn't want it. It needed to be perfect. But I watch it now and I go, that's not perfect. It's wooden. It's so, and I had a script.
I get it.
A full script below my camera. I'm reading a script. If you watch that video, what is a logo? I'm actually pretty good at reading a script and making it not look like I'm reading a script. It doesn't sound too bad. And when I'm looking at the script, I'm doing it as if I'm thinking about something, and then I'll come back and go, yeah, as if it was just there, but I'm actually reading it. And over time, I started to just do bullet points. I still edit quite a bit of my videos, and my blooper reels are just huge. But it's all, it's all smoke and mirrors sometimes with YouTube. But I got more relaxed. I started to get good feedback from it. People would contact me, or I'd bump into people. It was weird. I was in the centre of Dundee, and I had this kid come up to me. I say kid, he was maybe about 18, and he said, "You're Col from YouTube," and I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh," he said, "I've done a poster for my school play, and it's in the window of the city hall. Can you come and have a look at it and let me know what you think?" I was like, okay. So I went over, and it was really good. He'd done a cracking, because I was dreading it being terrible.
What are you
going to
say
to this guy? So we went over, and it was brilliant. It was really, really good. So I said that to him. Turns out that actually his mum was a client of mine, and so he'd kind of found my channel because she'd said, you should watch Col's stuff. You're interested in design. You might learn some stuff from it. So he'd saw me in the street, and that comes down to the cap and the beard thing again, because I kind of stand out. Okay, the hipster thing came in and kind of diluted it. Everyone had beards, and I've never worn a checked shirt, though. I don't wear the lumberjack shirts, so I'm okay with that set. But he found me, and I thought, this is great. This 18-year-old who's interested in design is watching my stuff, and that was it. That's all I needed was one person to have got something from it. And I went, this is worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And so that just kept me going. It's hard work, though. I did one a week for 2 years, and I've fallen off the wagon a little bit. I've not done one for sort of 3 weeks, but I'm building up a new plan. We're starting a new 90-day challenge. This will be the 5th one on Monday. So I'm doing that. I want to create videos for my website, which explain my services and my pricing as well. I think you need to be open about pricing and not hide things, because I think it's useful to the client, but it also is useful to you as a designer or any business. I feel you should have pricing there. And it doesn't matter if you say, oh, but our stuff is bespoke, we can't put pricing on. Well, you can still talk about pricing, you can give examples. And I think that will push people away that really can't afford your services. They just don't have the budget.
Yeah.
And it saves you time.
Yeah, I just mixed a video last night about the 5 biggest mistakes that designers and entrepreneurs make, and one of the points is that not having any indication of packages or pricing or on your website, because then people come and they have no idea what you charge, and if at least you put something there, it gives them an idea of how senior, how junior you are, and it gives them some context. And then you put a disclaimer saying, every project is different, and depending on the project, it can go up and down. Yeah, ballpark. But I'm totally with you on that.
And that's worked a lot. I still get, my website isn't as clear as my website's just, it could be better all around, to be honest. But to find the pricing for my logo design service, for example, you have to download a PDF at the minute, and that's not ideal. And so I need to go back on and just make it very clear from the start, and then people can. And the reason I want to do the video is that I would say don't just put a price, because you're not letting people know the value. What's the value that you're giving? Why should they use you as opposed to 99 Designs? What's the difference? What are you bringing to the table that they aren't? Because I gave up. I used to not badmouth Fiverr and stuff, but I just get so frustrated because it was devaluing designers, because it was the lowest common denominator, and I wouldn't even call it design half the time. There's clip art being used, and it's just dangerous from a business owner's point of view, because you don't know where you're going to stand legally on copyright and trademark with some of the designs you get. But I thought, you know what, that's taking up a lot of my time worrying about that. I'm just going to focus on what I want to do, what I think I'm worth, and just push on and just create videos that show I have a certain amount of expertise in my field. And I think, having a high number count on YouTube, as you'll know, Phil, can look great, but it's the quality sometimes. If you've got a lot of people watching who are watching because they're interested just in the subject of design, that's brilliant. But as a business owner, I'm trying to develop a rapport with other business owners who want to improve their branding. So I'm trying to get across that way. So I think I'm about just over 8,000 right now, which I still think is, is crazy that many people will click subscribe. And I'm under no illusion that a large proportion of that is designers, just from the contact I have with them.
Right.
I get a lot of messages every day. When it comes to content marketing, the one thing that I learned and that I would say to people is, don't give up, keep going, because they are reading, they are watching, they are listening. They're just not commenting. And that's the thing. It's like being a DJ in a nightclub and the dance floor's empty, but everyone who's around it's enjoying themselves.
That's a great analogy.
Not dancing. And it's just, they will come onto the dance floor when they're ready.
And it's like you said, it's a long game. Yeah, it's a long game. It is a long game. It takes a lot of time. And so you have, there's a year or 2 years that you have to put in the initial investment, right? It's like investing in the stock market. It's like you have to start off with a certain amount of money and you put it in there and then it will grow, but then it's like compound interest. It's like once you get it in there, once you have a body of work, then you just have to add a little bit to it and but its returns are exponential.
It is. I mean, my first year, in 12 months, I think I went from 0 to 1,000 subscribers in my first year.
Right.
And then my second year, 1,000 to 8. So, that was a big growth. Not the same growth as yourself, Phil, who went to the moon.
But you're also starting to expand the platforms where you're cross-promoting yourself, because I've seen your videos you've been promoting yourself on LinkedIn, which is very smart.
I'm now actively using LinkedIn.
And that's brilliant, because it's like that's putting your videos on a platform that is frequented by business people. It's not like a designer platform. It's by people who are doing business, and you're putting your branding services and expertise in front of the people who you want to be your audience, right?
Yeah. And I think that's my way of sort of, I should have done it before, but you're always learning. And it's just, if you work on your own, you're like, I haven't got the time to move into that. But I felt that I'd maybe been flogging a dead horse with Facebook, because I hadn't really thought about it properly. And I thought, people are on Facebook when they're procrastinating, or they're just chilling out and social. They're not, their brain, the business people, they're not in buyer's mode. They're not thinking about their business brand or whatever. They're thinking about themselves. So that's why B2C stuff works. Buy these trainers or buy this thing, that will make you feel good. Although branding makes you feel good as well when it works. So I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to I've had a LinkedIn account since 2004, but I've never used it really. And so 7 weeks ago, I went, I'm going to start using LinkedIn and taking part in other conversations, just giving my advice where I can, if it's relevant, and just taking part in it. Because I thought, everybody says LinkedIn's boring, but is it boring because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy? If we start to not be boring on LinkedIn,
right,
can we change it?
Yeah.
And I think it's Microsoft that bought it, wasn't it? I think Microsoft now own LinkedIn, and they're making good changes. They've now got video. They've now got video where you can upload subtitles. At the minute, I still burn my captions into my videos for LinkedIn, because I'm not a big fan of how the native subtitles display.
Yeah, I got to talk to you about how to do that, because I noticed that on your videos, and I'm like, I got to do that, and I don't know how to do it. So I'm gonna talk to you about that.
I'll show you how to do that.
Absolutely.
And so, just because everyone knows that I watch so many videos with no audio. If there's captions there's no audio going on for me. I'll just watch it that way. And in the 7 weeks, in 14 years of LinkedIn, I never had an inquiry. Never. In 7 weeks of just engaging with other people and putting my content in my videos into LinkedIn, I've had 5 what I call brand discovery calls. They're just half-hour sessions. I don't charge for them. It just gives a chance for me to get to know the client, and the client to get to know me, because it's important that the client feels they could work with me, but it's also important that I feel I can work with them. We may not be the right fit. And I never leave a client hanging. I usually have someone I can refer them to and say, you know what? The way that you are, I think you'll work great with Phil, or you'll work great with Dave or Jenny. I know a lot of designers, and I will never leave someone hanging. I've never liked that. I can't work with you. Bye. Doesn't help. Again, it's another thing about, if I can help them, it looks good for design as a whole. Like the design community, he was a helpful guy. Maybe they're all like that.
Well, and another thing you said right when we start, before we hit record, you were talking about, that service that you're doing both to the designer community and the business community by giving the content that you do, is a way of putting forth good karma, and that there is a return on karma. People who give with no anticipation of receiving anything in return. It's a very, altruistic kind of behavior, and people recognize that, and I think that they internalize it in terms of, associating it with your brand, that he is a helpful person, and he's not just in it for, the fee. It's like he is giving, he knows what he's doing, right?
And it's tough, we're kind of all in this to kind of make a living, but I've never been in it to become a millionaire. I just want to be comfortable and know that I've got something for the future, and I'm still working hard at that. But I am seeing these things change. I've already got a couple of great, what I would call brand advocates on LinkedIn, who are sharing my content, and saying you should watch Col's stuff. And I actually had a call, one of the guys, Dan, really nice chap, who's a actually a coach for Story Brand, for the Story Brand brand. And we had a chat the other day. Just, he said, oh, I'd love to connect with you. And I said, why don't we have a chat? You've been good for me. You've been sharing my content. Let's just have a chat and see if I can help you out in any way. And we had a great chat. And I'm going to connect him to another guy I know who's a personal branding coach. And I'm going to connect the two of them together because I think they'd be great together in terms of mutual businesses. But they're in different parts of America, and I know distance isn't an object these days, but sometimes locality does matter for certain clients. And I just thought, it's great to connect these people. I think that'll be great. And that's another one of those, just being helpful. I probably won't get anything out of it. I may do. They may both have clients who go through the Story Brand process and then decide, I need my logo done now, and they may well refer them to me. But that's not why I do it. I don't do it with a sales mentality at the end of it. It's not the sales thing for me needs to be more front of mind, but it never is. It's always kind of, it would be nice to get that, but it's a slow curve. But I'm seeing that curve, as you mentioned earlier on. It's like my video curve. It's starting to. I feel I'm just at this kind of bottom apex, and it's starting to go up. Even you being kind enough to kind of interview me today, these sorts of things I still find very strange that I'm being asked to do this, because it's great. I love it because like I said earlier, I can really talk on and on. So you probably need to edit this out a little bit, but just having the opportunity to speak to you, to speak to your audience, and and kind of spread the word that if you have had a bad experience with a designer, we're not all like that. Right. It's a very small minority, and you've been very unlucky, because of all the designers that I speak to, we all want to be helpful. I very rare that I meet someone who's really in it for the money.
Yeah,
they're in it either for design because they love design so much, or they're in it to be helpful. And I suppose one of the best places is examples of that is Ian Paget's Logo Geek community on Facebook.
I just interviewed Ian Paget, and he's going to be.
He mentioned last week.
Oh, he did.
I said, "Oh, you're first. You're before me."
I wanted to talk a little bit more around what content marketing has done for you and how you've experienced, the increase in business that has gotten you, and what doing content marketing has changed in terms of what those initial kind of meetings with clients have been like.
So I've been doing content marketing for 3 years now, and it's really only in the past year that I would say the fruits of my labors are really starting to show, both in my own growth, in my confidence in what I know, and also in the quality of clients that are coming to me, not reading so much my content. I've not written a blog, I don't think, in about a year, which is awful, but I much prefer video, but I do need to repurpose that sort of stuff. So yeah, this me today, I'm pretty much sitting here 2 years down the line from starting my YouTube channel, and still learning every single day about it. But the key thing for me was inbound content marketing. I said earlier on in the call that I'm not a very good salesman, and what content marketing's done for me is it's become the salesman.
Right.
It does a lot of the work for me. By the time for me, I'm just creating content which is stuff I know about, as any business owner listening to this can do. You all have knowledge. It's just that it's maybe not laid down somewhere, whether that be a blog, whether that be a podcast or video. But what it does do is it gets it out there. Search engine optimization isn't going away. If anything, it's going to get a little bit tougher, because people are using voice more with Alexa and Siri and searching that way. So it's only going Siri with content marketing. Right now, if someone does a search for best logo designer, insert your area, it will give a list. But with Alexa and Siri, you'll say, who's the best logo designer? And it'll say one. It'll give one result.
All right.
And that's the one that, that's going to be top. unless you say who are the top 5, then it might give you the first 5. But that's kind of going into the future. But right now, what I've learned is that whereas before, if I had someone contact me, it'd be quite a long call because you kind of talk about your services and what you can do and maybe why you're a bit different as well. What's my personality like, what it's like to work with me, what my process is. But by doing content marketing, you're getting all of that out there. So if someone does a search for example, I've got one of my most popular blogs is one which is 35 free stock photography websites. I did a quick blog on that, and it's by far my most popular. But if I look at my Google Analytics, they move through my blog. Not everyone, but some people move through my blog and read my blog posts, and then some of my blog posts have videos embedded, and they jump to YouTube and watch videos on my YouTube channel. So what happens is they're self-educating themselves on branding. So when they come to me, they know a lot already. And if they're coming to me, it means that they like me and they like my content. So the chances are they're coming to say, I want to work with you. That isn't how it worked in the past.
Right.
In the past, it was, tell me about it. I need to know if I can work with you. So you're having to go through all of that kind of, you're pitching yourself.
Yeah.
You have to go through the pitch.
Well, and when they come to you, they're coming to you as a more educated consumer too. That's the other thing. I mean, I always get asked, why are you, one of the reasons why I did my channel was I wanted to capture everything I know and just kind of, in a library essentially. And, people are like, why are you giving away all the secrets? Why are you telling people how to brand themselves? They won't need you anymore. They won't need us anymore. But the opposite is true. I think what it does is it shows people how deep what we do is and how strategic what we do is and how complex the interweaving parts of what a brand strategy is. And when you have a partner who knows it really well and can lead you through that process and make it painless for you, they can watch as many videos as they want about brand strategy or brand positioning. And though they may have the template for how to write the thing, they don't know how to do it. They don't know whether they're doing is right. And so it's almost like putting this content and this information out there is making them want us more in a way and really appreciate our craft more.
Yeah, it is. I'm finding, I've had a few people now more so since I've been using LinkedIn, maybe just because it's more of a business to business thing, but people contacting me and saying, I'd love to work with you, but I don't think I could afford you.
That's what I get. Yeah.
But I haven't told them how much I cost. So what content marketing can do is it can elevate perception of you. It's like you said, Phil, it's you're giving knowledge, you're showing them about branding and stuff, but it's showing your expertise, which means that in their eyes, your product or service, it doesn't have to be design, it could be anything, you're becoming the best. It's also about trust. By looking like you're giving everything away, there's no hidden stuff. So the trust is already building before they've even contacted you. And I'm finding that the last piece of the puzzle, which is when they contact you, it's to kind of test you to see, are you like the content I'm reading? Right. Because if it's one of those sales tricks, you're trying to be all friendly and nice, and then I phone you and it's all about the sale, then that's kind of the trust goes instantly. But which is an important thing about content marketing. It has to be you. It has to be now I'm not saying like an individual, because obviously if you're a big brand doing content marketing, it has to be your core values. It has to be what you're built upon. Don't try to ride the back or newsjack something and make your brand different because you think you'll get quick sales, because you're then going to have to, for those customers that buy in at that point, that's going to have to be you for that customer through their entire lifespan of working with you. Right. Whereas if you're if you are your core values, or if you're a solopreneur, you just need to be you. Try not to, and it's difficult with video because video is weird, because you can go to video and be like, yeah, right, okay, let's do this, and you hit record and you go, hi, how you doing? It's just that little red light just does something to people. But as you do more, you'll know, Phil, you kind of get more relaxed. So the thing with content marketing as well is, chances are the first few pieces of content you're going to do will suck.
Yeah, I have a mantra that says dare to suck, and it's like, because you have to. When you start, you're going to suck, no matter what you do. You can prepare your lights and your script and your, you like spray your beard and
hairspray.
And it's gonna suck. You're gonna look back after you've done 30 videos and you're gonna say, oh my God, I can't believe I posted that. And it's that way with blogging, it's that way with tweeting, it's that way with it's that way with designing. You look back at the design.
Yeah. And don't delete it, leave it, because what happens there is people see the journey and they see that you're a human being. And that's who they want to deal with. It's very tempting it's so tempting for me to bin the videos I did at the start and redo them. And now I probably am going to redo them because I'll talk in a different way about it. The same topic, but it'll be slightly different. It'll be Col Gray 2 years down the road, who's also got 2 years more knowledge that I've built up over that time. Because I'm the first to admit that, the way I sold my logo design service even 5 years ago is not the way I deal with it now, because my knowledge has grown, and so my perceptions of where logo fits inside of a brand. When I was a young designer, logo was king and it was everything. Your brand's nothing without your logo. Now I know it's a small part of it. It's just whatever your business is, it's there to just be a trigger. It's a visual trigger,
right,
of how the other branding assets
are recognized
and how they kind of emotionally affect people. I didn't have that knowledge 10 years ago. I do now, so I understand. So that's kind of what will happen for any business. You're going to have different tiers or levels, but I think you said it, Phil, is that when you start creating content, I have knowledge, but when you have to create it for other people to consume, you have to structure it in a way that it makes sense and it makes you better in your business, because you think about it harder and what it would be like for someone to look at it. And it really does. I find that it's made me think harder about my business and what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? Okay, I shouldn't be doing that. And you kind of optimize in a way. So it helps. So to get back to your question, it's helped with building trust. It shortens the sales process and it makes you much better at communicating what your what are the virtues of your specific product or service. Right. You get very good at honing in on doing that. So there's kind of those three things really. Yeah.
If there was one, just to start to wrap it up, if an entrepreneur comes to you or a small business comes to you, what are kind of the biggest, I guess, most current problems that you're seeing people having, and how do you address those? Are there any kind of major questions or problems that clients are coming to you with that seem to be either new or are getting triggered by the way the business environment is changing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, what I'm noticing more, is people are coming to me because they want to imbue their business with more of them. Not every business, every business is different, and you do get people who come who just we want to refresh things or whatever. But I'm finding I'm getting more people, and it may be that they've maybe bought out a business partner, or they've bought a business over, and they just want to bring more of themselves into it, more of their personality. Whereas in the past, personality wasn't really talked about much. It was more about how can we make our thing look the best? How can we make it look the shiniest thing of all the other shinies? Whereas now I'm finding that business owners are getting much more educated on the power of being more yourself.
And I think it's also like it's brand personality. It's also authenticity and the rise of the realization that story is critical. And story and authenticity are so closely linked. And people, in order to tell an authentic story, you have to get personal. You have to get real, and you have to be vulnerable. And you know, the way corporations or companies have always seen themselves as like this monolith with a product, and it's kind of cordoned off, and it's clean, and it's sharp, and all the corners are straight. And now people are realizing that in order to be approachable, because the relationships between consumer and company have been broken down, that this false wall is gone, that it's now become a very P2P, person-to-person relationship, they have to start becoming more relatable.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's difficult for some people. They don't understand it. They've never had to do that before. It's especially for the more kind of gray suit corporates. It's difficult for them to go, we can't possibly do that.
Right.
So, well, you can do it in very small steps. And if everyone starts doing it, it's like the discussion about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is kind of seen as the grayest of the gray of social media platforms. But there are some absolute gems of people in there, and I can see it's a bit contagious. I can see these people who've never kind of let themselves be seen on LinkedIn starting to let things out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of kind of those. If you do become too exuberant on LinkedIn, you do get a brigade of people who do kind of knock you down. Well, that's not professional. You shouldn't be doing that. And I just say, well, this is my personality. I want to attract like-minded people, and it's the same whether you have a product. You want to attract people who will like the personality of your product or brand. So that's the biggest change for me is that side of it. The rest of it's kind of always been there, but people coming in and say, how can we get me into the brand? And I love that, because then I get to speak about them or the history of their business. Why did it start? Who did it, was it 100 years ago? Was it 10 years ago? Why? What's happened? Mm-hmm. Has there been any really major impacts on your brand, like bad things? How did you come out of that? And that's usually where the great stories are, and where their core values come in, where they've struggled through thick and thin.
Because people identify with adversity. People identify with adversity, and that's the vulnerability that I think
everyone struggles. Yeah. And we want to kind of know that everyone wants to see the happy ending. And if you can kind of bring that in, people feel good about it. And, it's like, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of their journey. Mm-hmm. And it can sound to some people a little bit twee and probably a little bit inauthentic, but the inauthentic stuff really, you can see through that. It's very clear where it's a marketing ploy.
Right. It's
not a true story. It doesn't follow what the brand's really about. And you may get a few sales from that, but I think with authenticity and trust and story building, you'll build loyal brand advocates who will stick with you and who will, at every opportunity, say, buy from them or use their service. And I'm finding that that's slowly starting to happen I've always had good referrals. Most of my work's from referral, but it's getting to a different level now. Mm-hmm. It's getting to a point where as soon as I put a video up, if I put a 10-minute video up, it's being shared after a minute that it's been up. They haven't watched it all. They couldn't have watched it all, but they're just like, I like Col's content. I want to share it to my audience.
Yeah. So. And they trust your brand enough to say that I can use this as curated content that's coming with my endorsement without even watching it. And that's pretty intense, and I congratulate you for bringing your stuff to LinkedIn, because I think that if there's something that we together are going to say out of this interview to our audience is that let's make LinkedIn not drab and gray. Let's bring some life and energy to LinkedIn.
It is what you make it. You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So let's surround ourselves with the best contacts on LinkedIn. Yeah. The best connections, and really kind of shake it up from the inside.
Because I mean, when I posted my first, I'd posted probably 50 videos on YouTube before I started sharing them on LinkedIn. And it was like you were talking about in your very first blog post where you're like sweating and you're hitting, submit, which is what it is when you post your first video or blog post. And that's what I was like when I posted my first video on LinkedIn, because I thought, my LinkedIn contacts are like C-suite people from agencies and, companies I've worked with. And it's like, this is going to be showing up in their feed. And it's going to be like a picture of Phil on a thumbnail on YouTube. And it's going to be a very different story about who I am and my brand and what I'm doing. But it was like that, to a certain extent, for me, was a level of authenticity. It was like, this is what I'm doing on this platform. And now I'm going to do it on LinkedIn and let the both meet, Yeah. And but it's a very different platform, and I'm really enjoying watching it with what people like you are doing, are helping to evolve it to something that I think is going to be more exciting and more vital, and less kind of sterile.
So. I mean, I did swear in one of my, I swore on a video about GDPR because it was doing my head in, and I thought, I'm going to put this on LinkedIn because I feel so strongly about it, and I'm not swearing just gratuitously.
Right.
I felt so strongly that people were missing a trick with their brand when it came to communicating GDPR to their email list, that I had to say something, and I got a lot of really nice private messages and stuff about that video saying, wow, it was really good to hear someone who is passionate about it, because it can all get a little bit gloss.
I remember that video. I remember that video.
And I was, like you put in your first video up, I was a nervous wreck as to this could end my LinkedIn days of sharing videos if this goes really badly, but it didn't. Yeah. And it just made me see even more that it doesn't matter if you wear a suit. There's real people inside the suit. It's not
and if you are authentic about what you're sharing and it's done from a place of caring and giving, then people are going to respond, and yes, you can do the most altruistic, loving thing on video or any social media, and you're going to get some jerk who's a hater and just has to crap on it. That's the way the world is. Yeah. But as long as you can accept that, and that there's a whole bunch of other people who are enjoying it or getting stuff out of it who aren't commenting, then that's what's really important.
Like to, I know that we're going to kind of end this, but before we go, I just think there's two books that I'd like to kind of just say to people to get.
Please.
One book which will cover everyone really is this one by Marcus Sheridan called The Ask You Answer. This is basically a Bible of content marketing. It's a very simple premise. You answer any questions that your customers may have. That's it, but it's a great book to read. You should read that. And the other one is Known by Mark Schaefer. This was, I got this as soon as it came out. I've interviewed Mark. I interviewed him about his book. And in terms of creating a personal brand and basically becoming known, not famous. It's not about being famous. It's about being known for what you do. It's a great book. Some brilliant examples of people who've done that, who've kind of come from nothing and become known, and the ways that they've done it. It's fantastic. So I would highly recommend those two books if you're just venturing into content marketing and personal branding.
I'm gonna pick those up for my newsletter too and put them out that way as well. So
they're excellent books.
Where can do you have anything you want to promote besides your YouTube channel, which we're promoting?
Yeah.
What else you got going on?
Yeah, YouTube. By promoting my YouTube channel, that means that I'm going to have to start doing more videos again. So let's promote my YouTube channel.
I'm giving you a 90-day channel. 90-day challenge.
YouTube.com/Pixels Inc. I'm trying to get into Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram at PixelsCall, and I'm also at PixelsCall on Twitter. I'm not the most prolific. I'm trying to get more into, because the YouTube videos are very much evergreen content, so they'll always be there. I want to start. I was in a workshop with Brian Fanzo at iSocial Fans, and he opened my eyes to live video as documentation. Document your day, what you're doing, just little insights. People like to see the fact that out with this kind of cone of tidy books, the rest of my office is an absolute tip. There's stuff all over the place, so document that on Instagram. Show people what a messy office is like, what a busy office is like, what you're doing during the day, who you're meeting. Just little snippets and documentation, and I loved that. So I'm going to try and do that as well. So yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @pixelscall, and please engage. And I'm always looking for topics for my videos. So
yeah, suggest. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. That's like Phil.
I do.
Trying to come up with something. But it's been great. Thanks for having me.
So wait, it's not goodbye yet. I have the one question. The big question is, do you have a personal mantra or a manifesto that you try to either live your professional or your personal life by?
I've never written one down, and I know there's lots of companies who've got posters of their manifestos and stuff, but it's probably really cheesy, but I just want to treat people as I would want to be treated if I had a problem with my business. I would just like someone to listen properly and give me the best solution, rather than, again, it comes down to that kind of sales thing. Give them, a lot of people come to me and the same as you, they want something, but it's my job to give them what they need, and I can only do that by listening. So I suppose my mission thing is to just listen, and listen again, and then just ask the right questions. I have no idea how I would word that into a poster, but I'm a very empathetic person, and I just love to listen to people and give them solutions to help them move forward. It's about building confidence in them as well, because I know what it's done for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people look confident, but they're not really. And the great skills that we both have is that if you can give someone confidence in their brand, the world's their oyster. Their lives. You see them. Absolutely. You see them skipping out. If they were physically in the office, they'd be skipping out the office because they just feel that they can own the world because their brand is perfect for them. That's not a manifesto. That's just me rambling now, but that's how I feel.
You're passionate about it.
I get so caught up in that. Yeah. That's the thing for me.
Well, Col, man, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for coming on my channel. Yeah, no, I'm glad, and I'm sure people got a lot out of it. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll be able to reciprocate, and I'll interview you sometime.
That would be great.
Get you on my channel.
Okay, bye now.
Awesome. Stay creative, folks.